Have you ever met a woman who turns every small issue into a disaster, constantly overreacts, and allows her emotions to control her life? Maybe you've even been that woman at times. The truth is, emotional instability can destroy relationships, create unnecessary drama, and keep a woman from reaching her full potential. The Bible warns us about the dangers of being ruled by emotions, yet so many women let anger, jealousy, and impulsiveness dictate their actions. If you want to grow in wisdom, self-control, and emotional strength, keep watching because this message could change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share an important message that speaks to the heart of wisdom, self-worth, and personal growth. The world often teaches us to measure success by appearance, status, or popularity, but true intelligence is revealed through character, decisions, and actions. A wise woman builds her life on values, while a foolish one tears it down with bad habits. So how can we recognize the traits that hold a woman back from greatness? Here are 6 warning signs of a foolish woman. Signs that should not define any of us. A woman who lacks self-respect is one who does not recognize her worth, allowing others to treat her poorly while making unwise decisions in life. Self-respect is the foundation of a woman's dignity, confidence, and wisdom. When a woman fails to see herself as valuable, she often compromises in areas that damage her spirit, emotions, and future. A foolish woman may settle for toxic relationships, tolerate disrespect, and neglect her own personal growth because she does not see the importance of guarding her heart and mind. The Bible reminds us in Proverbs 31, she is clothed with strength and dignity, knowing that her value is not determined by the opinions of others, but by the truth that she is fearfully and wonderfully made by God. When a woman lacks this understanding, she allows external factors to dictate her self-worth. She may tolerate abusive relationships, thinking she is not worthy of love and respect. She may chase validation from people who do not have her best interest at heart, constantly seeking approval through her looks, social status, or unhealthy attachments. In today's world, many women struggle with self-respect because of societal pressures, social media, entertainment, and even peer influences often promote the idea that a woman's worth is based on superficial standards, how she looks, what she owns, or how much attention she gets from others. When a woman buys into these lies, she begins to compromise her values. She may dress in a way that does not reflect self-respect, engage in relationships that diminish her self-worth, or accept behavior that she knows is wrong just to feel accepted. A foolish woman does not set boundaries for how she should be treated, leading to cycles of heartbreak, disappointment, and regret. The lack of self-respect also affects the decisions a woman makes regarding her future. Instead of pursuing wisdom, growth, and purpose, she may settle for mediocrity because she does not believe she is capable of more. She may stay in a dead-end job, refuse to develop her skills, or avoid setting meaningful goals because deep down, she does not see herself as someone who deserves success. The Bible reminds us in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." A woman who lacks self-respect does not believe in this promise. Instead, she lets fear, self-doubt, and negative influences control her path. One of the greatest dangers of lacking self-respect is the impact it has on a woman's relationships. A foolish woman may choose partners who treat her poorly, disrespect her, and take advantage of her kindness. Because she does not see her own value, she believes she has to tolerate mistreatment. She may stay in toxic friendships where people gossip about her, use her, or bring negativity into her life. She may even change who she is just to please others, losing her identity in the process. A wise woman, on the other hand, understands that true love and respect start with how she values herself. She sets standards, walks away from toxic situations, and surrounds herself with people who uplift and encourage her. Another sign of a woman who lacks self-respect is the way she speaks and carries herself. Words have power, and the way a woman talks about herself reveals what she believes inside. A foolish woman speaks negatively about herself, constantly putting herself down, doubting her abilities, and accepting failure before even trying. She may engage in degrading conversations, gossip, or use language that reflects a low opinion of herself and others. Her posture, confidence, and interactions with people reflect an insecurity that stems from within. A woman with self-respect knows that her identity comes from God, not from worldly standards. She does not need validation from others to feel important because she understands that she was created with a purpose. She is not afraid to stand alone if necessary, refusing to compromise her morals just to fit in. She invests in her personal growth, pursues wisdom, and chooses relationships that align with her values. Self-respect does not mean arrogance. It means knowing that you are worthy of love, respect, and a life of purpose. A foolish woman who lacks self-respect can change by seeking wisdom, drawing closer to God, and recognizing her worth. It starts with renewing her mind, letting go of toxic influences, and believing in the promises of God. She must set boundaries, learn to say no to things that do not serve her well, and surround herself with people who encourage her to grow. True self-respect is not about external validation, but about knowing deep within that she is valuable, loved, and capable of achieving great things. A woman who thrives on gossip and negativity is one who lacks wisdom, maturity, and self-control. Gossiping is a dangerous habit that not only harms others, but also destroys the character and credibility of the person engaging in it. A foolish woman finds pleasure in spreading rumors, discussing other people's business, and focusing on negativity instead of growth. She is constantly looking for the latest drama, stirring up conflict and entertaining conversations that add no real value to her life. Instead of using her words to uplift, encourage, and inspire, she uses them to criticize, judge, and bring others down. The Bible warns us in Proverbs 16:28, a perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. A woman who engages in gossip often finds herself surrounded by broken relationships, mistrust, and unnecessary drama. People may enjoy listening to her words for a while, but eventually they begin to distance themselves, realizing that someone who talks about others will also talk about them. A foolish woman does not understand the power of her tongue and how destructive words can be. Instead of building meaningful connections, she creates division, jealousy, and resentment among those around her. Negativity is another sign of a woman lacking wisdom. A negative woman constantly complains, criticizes, and finds fault in everything and everyone. She focuses on problems rather than solutions and drains the energy of those around her. Her attitude affects her relationships, her work, and her personal growth because she refuses to see the good in life. A foolish woman allows bitterness, envy, and anger to take root in her heart, leading her to speak words that bring harm rather than healing. The Bible teaches, in Ephesians 4:29, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." A wise woman understands the importance of speaking life into situations instead of spreading negativity. Gossiping and negativity often come from a place of insecurity. A woman who lacks confidence and self-worth feels the need to bring others down to make herself feel better. She may compare herself to others, feeling envious of their success, beauty, or happiness. And instead of working on her own growth, she chooses to tear others down. A foolish woman surrounds herself with people who encourage gossip and negativity, creating an environment where toxic conversations thrive. She fails to realize that engaging in such behavior not only hurts others but also keeps her stuck in a cycle of mediocrity and unhappiness. A woman who gossips and spreads negativity will eventually lose the trust and respect of those around her. People may entertain her words for a while, but over time they will see her true nature and distance themselves. A wise woman, on the other hand, chooses to protect her speech, knowing that her words have the power to build or destroy. She focuses on personal development, uplifting others, and creating an environment of love, respect, and encouragement. Negativity also affects a woman's mindset and outlook on life. A woman who constantly speaks negatively about herself, her circumstances, and others attracts more negativity into her life. She becomes blind to opportunities, blessings, and the potential for growth because she is too focused on what is wrong. A foolish woman does not realize that her words shape her reality, and by constantly speaking doubt, fear, and complaints, she limits her own progress. One of the dangers of being a gossip and a negative person is that it leads to isolation. People eventually stop sharing their thoughts, dreams, and struggles with someone who cannot be trusted to keep things confidential. A foolish woman who thrives on negativity finds herself lonely, misunderstood, and surrounded by others who only fuel her destructive habits. She loses meaningful relationships because no one wants to be around someone who always speaks negatively or cannot be trusted with personal matters. A woman who desires to grow in wisdom and character must make a conscious effort to change her speech and mindset. She must recognize the impact of her words and choose to speak life instead of destruction. Instead of entertaining gossip, she should redirect conversations toward positive and meaningful discussions. Instead of complaining, she should practice gratitude and focus on the blessings in her life. A wise woman understands that what she speaks reflects what is in her heart, and she takes responsibility for ensuring that her words align with truth, love, and wisdom. Gossiping and negativity are not just bad habits. They are signs of a deeper issue within the heart. A woman who constantly engages in such behavior must take a step back and examine what is causing her to act this way. Is it insecurity? Is it a need for attention? Is it bitterness from past experiences? Once she identifies the root of her actions, she can begin to replace toxic habits with healthy ones. Surrounding herself with wise, uplifting people, focusing on personal growth, and seeking guidance from God's Word will help her break free from the destructive cycle of gossip and negativity. A foolish woman who does not control her tongue will eventually face the consequences of her actions. But a wise woman understands that words hold power, and she uses them to bring encouragement and positivity into the lives of those around her. Choosing to speak life instead of destruction is not just about avoiding gossip. It is about developing a heart that seeks to build rather than break, to uplift rather than tear down, and to reflect the love and wisdom of God in every word spoken. A woman who is emotionally unstable and overreacts to situations lacks wisdom, patience, and self-control. She allows her emotions to dictate her decision, causing unnecessary conflicts and making impulsive choices that often lead to regret. Instead of thinking logically and calmly responding to challenges, she lets anger, frustration, jealousy, or fear take control, leading her to say and do things that damage relationships and hinder personal growth. Emotional instability is a sign of immaturity because it reveals an inability to manage feelings in a healthy and constructive way. The Bible reminds us in Proverbs 14:29, "Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly." A foolish woman reacts without considering the consequences of her words and actions, creating chaos in her own life and in the lives of those around her. A woman who lacks emotional stability often finds herself in constant arguments and conflicts. She may lash out at others over minor issues, misinterpret situations, and assume the worst in people. Instead of approaching problems with wisdom and discernment, she immediately reacts based on her emotions, which can lead to broken friendships, strained family relationships, and unnecessary drama. A wise woman understands that not every situation requires an emotional reaction. She practices patience, listens before speaking, and takes time to process her emotions before responding. But a foolish woman allows her feelings to control her, making her unpredictable, difficult to communicate with, and exhausting to be around. Emotional instability also affects a woman's decision-making. When she is ruled by emotions, she may make rash decisions without thinking about the long-term effects. She may quit a job impulsively because of one bad day, end a relationship without trying to resolve issues, or make financial decisions based on temporary emotions rather than logic. Her inability to control her emotions causes instability in every area of her life, making it difficult for her to build strong relationships, maintain responsibilities, or achieve her goals. The Bible warns in James 1:19-20, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires." A foolish woman disregards this wisdom, acting out of impulse instead of self-control. Another sign of emotional instability is overreacting to criticism or correction. A foolish woman takes everything personally, becoming defensive and upset when someone tries to give her advice or constructive feedback. Instead of using criticism to grow, she sees it as an attack and may even lash out at the person trying to help her. A woman who cannot handle correction will never improve because she is too focused on protecting her feelings rather than learning from her mistakes. A wise woman, on the other hand, welcomes correction and seeks wisdom from those who can help her become better. She understands that growth requires humility and the ability to accept guidance without becoming offended. A woman who is emotionally unstable also struggles with forgiveness. She holds grudges, keeps a record of wrongs, and constantly replays past hurts in her mind. Instead of letting go and moving forward, she allows bitterness to take root, which affects her happiness and peace. She may bring up past issues in every argument, making it impossible for relationships to heal and grow. Her inability to forgive keeps her stuck in the past, preventing her from experiencing the joy and freedom that comes with letting go of negativity. A foolish woman does not realize that holding on to anger and resentment only harms her in the long run. Another characteristic of an emotionally unstable woman is her tendency to seek attention through emotional outbursts. She may create drama to get sympathy, exaggerate problems to gain attention, or play the victim in every situation. She thrives on emotional highs and lows, keeping people around her on edge because they never know how she will react. Instead of seeking healthy relationships based on mutual respect and understanding, she relies on emotional manipulation to get what she wants. This behavior not only damages her reputation, but also pushes people away, making it difficult for her to maintain long-term, meaningful relationships. A woman who lacks control over her emotions also struggles with self-discipline. She may give in to anger, jealousy, or sadness without making an effort to manage her feelings. She may allow her emotions to dictate her mood, leading to constant instability in her actions and decisions. This lack of emotional control can lead to destructive behaviors such as gossiping, spreading negativity, or making choices that she later regrets. A wise woman, however, understands that emotions are temporary and that they should never be the driving force behind important decisions. She practices self-control, knowing that wisdom comes from thinking before acting and responding with grace rather than impulse. An emotionally unstable woman may also struggle with trust issues. She may constantly suspect others of wrongdoing, read too much into situations, or assume that people are against her without any real evidence. This paranoia leads to unnecessary conflict and can ruin relationships that could have been strong and healthy. A foolish woman allows past hurts and insecurities to cloud her judgment, making it difficult for her to trust and build meaningful connections. A wise woman, however, chooses to believe the best in people and communicates openly rather than jumping to conclusions. A woman who desires to grow and become wiser must learn to manage her emotions with maturity and self-control. She must recognize that reacting emotionally to every situation only leads to regret and broken relationships. By seeking wisdom, practicing patience, and relying on God's guidance, she can develop emotional strength and stability. Instead of being controlled by her feelings, she can choose to respond with grace, understanding, and wisdom. This transformation does not happen overnight, but with intentional effort, a woman can learn to control her emotions and live a life of peace, wisdom, and purpose,